Okay, we got to talk about this FA Cup stuff, haven't we? Now, before I start, this channel has never nor will ever be outrage, clickbait, wind everybody up, you know, kind of enterprise. It's just not me, and it's just not what we do here. But this channel covers the championship, and the championship is in the EFL. And at the heart of why everybody is so pissed off about what the FA and the Premier League announced yesterday is the continuation of the kind of lack of respect paid to the lower parts of the pyramid, seemingly by the top of the pyramid. And my understanding of physics and gravity and science is that if you weaken the bottom of the pyramid, the top of it is going to fall in unless the top of it F's off and goes somewhere else and makes another pyramid. And I know we had the Big Six thing a few years ago, and a lot of people said to me, Ben, just get shot of them, get lost, be better off without them. And I'm like, no, come on, the tradition. You know, these clubs are a vital part of these pyramids in the same way the clubs at the bottom are. But the more and more this stuff happens, and the more with things developing this year that we may well talk about now in terms of, you know, the FFP, P&S, parachute payments, the Leicester City issue with the Premier League and the EFL not playing ball, the Premier League meeting where all the owners really are just now saying, nope, we're not talking about distribution to the EFL until we sort out profit and sustainability in terms of protecting themselves, because they don't like the rules that they voted in are themselves. This year's just been an absolute SHIT show in terms of the pyramid, and they just got this independent regulator kind of hanging over everything. And my God, either everyone needs to just have their heads banged together and things sorted out, or that independent regulator needs to do it. But yeah, so this came out yesterday, and this is for the FA Cup, and just the brass neck of the first statement. The FA and the Premier League. So we'll stop right there. There's 20 teams in the Premier League, and it takes 14 teams to vote something through in the Premier League. I think there's 700 teams going to the FA Cup. And I don't know what the FA does anymore. I think all their power has just gone since the Premier League got all the power. And listen to this next bit. Reached a new agreement which will strengthen the FA Cup format with new and exclusive calendar windows. Yeah, you're still thinking about the bad news, right? And the sum total of this was there's lots of fluff here about, you know, how much the Premier League provide into grassroots and all of that good stuff. But the devil in the detail is that FA Cup replays will be scrapped right the way through from the first round. I know qualifying rounds as well when you get right into the weeds with the FA Cup. And I also know they were already scrapped from the quarterfinals onwards. Is that right, or is it the sixth round? Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But what we did have maintained is replays round 1, 2, 3 for whatever it goes up to. And what that does, I think we all understand. Well, let me just give you my personal experience as an Ipswich Town fan on what that does have in kind of cup replays and the FA Cup generally. And remember, my team won the FA Cup in 1978, which we are incredibly proud of. It's a massive part of my club's history, you know, real. Everybody talks about it. It's still got the stars on the shirt and whatnot to celebrate what was one of the greatest moments in the club's history. But in recent years, my lot have played Lincoln when they were in non-league, lost to Lincoln in a replay on the TV while Lincoln and the Cowleys were in non-league. They played Barrow, Oldham, Buxton, Bracknell. Ipswich Town played Maidstone this season, non-league Maidstone, on the TV, stadium full of people, and lost. Now, I should be gutted about that as an Ipswich fan. And yeah, it's a bit embarrassing losing. You know, we're currently top of the championship, and you're losing to Maidstone in the National League. But what I am not is a greedy, selfish football fan who just wants my team to win and have everything the whole time. I like to think I can see the bigger picture. And Ipswich lose to Maidstone in the Cup, as much as it's humiliating to an Ipswich fan, it's brilliant. And that's what the FA Cup kind of does for a club like Maidstone, who doesn't have remotely the money coming in or the resources or the spend or the capital behind them that Ipswich Town do. But they get this massive payday. They're on the TV. They get the TV money. They get a bigger cut of the away attendance, get a bigger cut of the gate. And for a club like Maidstone, that, I don't know. You tell me what their accounts say the year before that and what they're going to say for this year in terms of just that one cut. I think they went to Coventry as well. After that, they got hammered, but who cares at that point? Another big stadium and big payday and all of that. And just a brilliant run for the Maidstone fans. But this is what we're talking about. The underpinning finances of it will just help for years to come. Now, what we are potentially doing now is we are removing opportunity. And hell hath no fury for human beings when we feel like someone who's got more of something is dictating to somebody who's got less of something that they can't have any more. I think it's probably called bullying that, isn't it? Someone exerting their power on someone with less power to, kind of subordinate them. And that gets us all enraged if we're not selfish, greedy football fans and we actually understand that the pyramid is vitally important. And, I think hidden somewhere in here, look in the middle column there. In light of the changes to the calendar driven by the expanded UEFA competition. So we have a situation whereby the Premier League and the EFA have decreed that because of the UEFA competitions, that we need to get rid of the cup replays that would stop the likes of Maidstone, Bracknell, Buxton, Oldham, Barrow, Lincoln potentially coming to Ipswich, or name a club with a big stadium in the Championship or even higher, even in League One. They go to Derby, they go to Portsmouth and make a ton of money and have an amazing day out. And it strengthens the pyramid from the bottom up, doesn't it? The ridiculous irony of all of this is that how many teams involved in FA Cup replays in rounds 1 and 2 give any kind of a crap about UEFA competition? Of course they don't. None of them are in it. The Premier League aren't even in the FA Cup until round 3. So why we're removing those, I have got absolutely no idea whatsoever. I mean, look, we all understand that the FA Cup has been chipped away in terms of its importance. I could give you a big rah-rah spiel about when I was a kid and I went to the Mayfair and my dad taped the FA Cup final between Spurs and Forest. And he added on for extra time and it went to extra time. And Paul Gascoigne and Gary Lineker after the World Cup were going to be in it. And, I could talk to you about Ian Wright coming back from 2 broken legs and scoring 2 goals in the final to take that. That final went to a replay, for God's sake. I remember Chris Waddle and Sheffield Wednesday against, that was Ian Wright again, and Arsenal. That final went to a replay as well. Look, we know the FA Cup isn't what it was. I get that. I don't want to be one of these guys who's coming across, I can't cope with change. I can cope with change. I understand change has to and needs to happen. And we all get that the FA Cup has essentially been replaced by the Champions League as the most important cup competition for the teams involved in the Champions League. I'm sure we speak to Maidstone, Bracknell and Oldham and Lincoln that have all gone against my team. They're probably not too worried about the Champions League, but self-interest is very real, guys, isn't it? Very, very real. Speaking of European competition, I took the liberty really quickly of just making a note of Man City, Arsenal and Liverpool have all played in UEFA competitions the last few days. I wonder where those clubs managed to develop and, in some instances sign or loan Kyle Walker, John Stones, Jack Grealish, David Raya, Ben White, Andy Robertson and Harvey Elliott from. I wonder if I've seen any of those players playing in the EFL in the past few years, and as a vital part of their development onto their amazing careers to go and play European football. Good luck to all of them. Go and make hay, lads. You're brilliantly talented individuals, but you would not be playing in UEFA competitions if it weren't for your experiences and your development in the EFL. Yes, you guys were better than the EFL. We get it. We loved having you in the EFL. That star power of a Harvey Elliott on loan, taking the mickey for Blackburn whilst he developed as a youngster, or Ben White at Leeds, or the few seasons Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish is not a £100 million player if he doesn't really, kind of get the message in the EFL and really develop his style there. Yeah. So universally panned this decision. And just in terms of that relationship as well, and the idea that the Premier League and the FA are babbling on about what they contribute down, every EFL Championship fan will fire back the fact, yes, the Premier League pay loads of money into the Championship each and every season, and 99% of it goes to 3 clubs who are Premier League members the season before. We all understand, and this is the heart of it, isn't it? Looking after the distributions and down the pyramid, making sure that you don't have the Champions League clubs make this much money, rest of the Premier League makes this much money, the parachute clubs make this much money, the rest of the EFL makes this much money, and down you go. It needs to cascade down. I can't do that on the screen. There you go. Is that a better cascade? That's what a pyramid is, not cliff edges. And the more and more stuff like this that's getting removed, and opportunities, I'm going to say their names again: Maidstone, Bracknell, Buxton, Oldham, Barrow, Lincoln, who've all played Ipswich in the FA Cup. Those clubs need opportunities to, unless we're going to have some completely lovely distribution right down the pyramid in the 92. Spoiler alert, we're not, whilst the Premier League and the EFL are 2 different entities, because all the Premier League teams want to keep all that money. They don't want to distribute it down evenly, so we can have talking evenly, just remove the cliff edges, make it go like that. Maybe wouldn't that be better than it going goop 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 like that? And the FA Cup was one thing. There was a kind of shining light with those possibilities. Could pick any team in. Well, did we have Newport play Manchester United? We had that this season, didn't we? And Maidstone and Ipswich. Pick any team, and those massive Spurs, Arsenal, Man United, those gigantic stadiums where it's literally, like winning the lottery for these teams down there. Well, obviously this has been universally panned, and I'm sure everybody in the comments, because my majority of my subscribers here are EFL fans, are going to be of the same view. So what I don't want is the rah-rah outrage. We're all in an echo chamber saying this is all terrible. We probably want some solutions as to how this can be better. Before I go on to that, we have literally just before I started recording this, I don't want to be the rant guy, but this rant, we've had another statement from the FA who said they've listened to the concerns expressed and claim they've been discussing the calendar with the Premier League and the EFL for well over a year. Well, it's interesting that they didn't say that the EFL was part of the decision. Maybe if they'd said that in the first place, then it wouldn't have been so universally panned. They claim that everybody agreed that the FA Cup replays had to go. Again, just go down to the last statement there. We'll keep this under review as the new calendar begins. Under review doesn't mean they're going to change anything, to ensure that EFL and National League clubs do not lose out. So it looks like nothing's changing. It looks like they're trying to throw somebody under the bus at the EFL if somebody was involved in the discussions. But let's be quite frank, you can stick a couple of EFL reps in there against everybody in the Premier League talking about UEFA Champions League money. And given what we know about how unwilling the Premier League have been in terms of wanting to play ball with the distribution, do you know what? If the Premier League came to the table to the EFL and gave us a lovely distribution down, so we had more of a kind of pyramid, and didn't give 99% of it to 3 clubs who've just been relegated from the Premier League. We wouldn't have to do that if we had an even distribution, for God's sake, before you supporters of teams that have been relegated get cross about it. We wouldn't even need that if we had a more sensible even distribution, along with more sensible profit and sustainability rules need to come in. They can do what the hell they like with the FA Cup. Oh, actually, no, they can't do what the hell they like with the FA Cup. It is, historic and what's the word? It's kind of part of the tradition that, there'd be no Premier League massive success if it wasn't for the FA Cup and the pyramid being bolstered. And, what's the saying? If the tide rises, all ships float higher. If League Two is sustainable and prosperous, then up it goes, through the pyramid. And we don't just have this idea of, mega clubs at the top and they're controlling everything. And, everyone else just scrambles to try and kind of, a bit like my dog, Arlo, sitting underneath my daughter, Enid, while she's eating her food. He's just sat under there waiting for her to spill some crumbs down. Let me have some crumbs. Why don't we just give Arlo some food every day? We're not talking about giving him a Michelin-starred 7-course tasting menu with a glass of wine with each course. No, just give him a reasonable amount of food is my sort of lovely analogy for this. And yeah, this FA Cup business is just the latest part of it. I guess my suggestion would be, is there a compromise? Can we have, at the moment we've got the replays going through. I should know this number, whether it is the 5th round or the 6th round. Maybe it's the 6th round where they stop. Excuse me for not knowing that and coming on here to talk about it. But as you can see, the kind of general thrust of what I'm saying is coming from here rather than necessarily the exact statistics of everything. So, they could have gone up to round 3, maybe keep them there. So when the Premier League comes in the 3rd round, there's a chance that if Newport draw Man United, and by God, they play the game of their lives, they can go back to Old Trafford for that one game where many of those players who play for Newport, they're never going to play in a stadium like that. Okay, they'll probably get battered 5-0 or what have you by Man United reserves, but that's not the point, is it? It's the experience, the majesty, the magic, the tradition. They can go and play that replay. So would that have been a compromise? Keep them up to round 3 when the Premier League clubs come in, and then thereafter, I don't know. But it just feels like a terrible idea, doesn't it? I try and be the balanced guy here on the channel and see. And again, I don't want to be perceived as, Ben struggling with change. I get it. Things have to move forward. But we either need far, and this is the overarching thing, that it feels like the state of the pyramid is just, hanging by a thread with all of this business between EFL and Premier League not getting the ducks in a row, Premier League not wanting to pay down to support the pyramid. And this feels like a big kick in the teeth, doesn't it? If you want to shout and scream in the comments, feel free. That is your free speech right on here. Remember, though, I do not tolerate, any kind of hate speech or attacks on me or anybody else. That's your free speech consequence, I would say. But if we can have balanced ideas as to, what they could have done better here, what could be done better going forward. Although I'm literally at my wit's end to the point where I would say, go on then, bugger off, make your Super League, go on, piss off, let all of us enjoy our football pyramid. And, if you want to play into Miami and Abu Dhabi United or Saudi Arabia FC and that shit, go on, go and do it, and we'll have a lovely pyramid without you. I don't want that, of course, but feels like that's blooming closer than everyone agreeing and having a sustainable 92 club and the National League and everyone below it included at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to go and bash my head against the wall 20 times. Get your comments in. FA Cup replays scrapped. Too much disgust.